you tell us your name? Well, Beth, didn't you have a story or two of actual sightings?
Yes, I found a couple in, I'm probably going to say this wrong, but it's in Stratfordshire, England, Connaught Place or Connaught Chase. A gentleman we'll call Basil because his name's not given. Basil and his wife were walking their dog near Stile Cop, and once they got into the woods there, the road was no longer visible, and then they started hearing a little girl giggling, which would really freak me out personally. They finally saw her. She was no more than a meter high, and she appeared out of nowhere. Then they noticed her eye color which was no color. She had white eyes. She tilted her head to the side in much the same way as if she appeared to be hung. So kind of, she stayed there and stared at him for about 5 minutes and then ran away. And they pretty much, he says his wife wanted to follow her, and he said, no, that's not happening.
No, not today.
Another area, no, not any day. Bye-bye, kids.
See you later. Did they have black eyes or white eyes?
No, this was maybe this was the black. Yeah, it was a black-eyed child. So there was no color but black. All they could see was black.
So that goes back to what I was saying earlier, where
sorry, I said that wrong.
It's not like they have black eyeballs. It's just like there's not just a black void, right?
Some of them they have black eyeballs, but some of them it's a black void. Right. So maybe there's two different types, or maybe they just appear differently.
It looks like you're in a Japanese karate movie. And then you hear the voice. We see your lips move, then we hear you talk.
Godzilla movie.
The Japanese martial arts. Yeah. All right. Did you have another story?
A Mrs. Kelly, which is a pseudonym, she was walking through Birches Valley, I believe in Connaught Chase. However, we might want to do a show about this because it seems to be a hotbed for paranormal activity. Yeah. They heard screams of a young child, but they couldn't tell if it was a boy or girl. But they definitely sounded like they were in distress and very close to them. So they started running towards the noise. They couldn't find the child anywhere, so they stopped to catch their breath. And when they did, Mrs. Kelly turned around, and there was a girl standing behind her, no more than 10 years old, and she had her hands over her eyes like she was waiting for a birthday cake. And Mrs. Kelly asked if she was the one that was screaming, and then she put her arms down by her side, opened her eyes, and all black. No whites, no irises, no nothing, just black eyes. She jumped back, grabbed her daughter, but when they looked again, the kid was gone. And she said it was strange, really, but she knew something was going to happen before it even did. She had a weird feeling while they were walking in the woods before the
Wow.
encounter. So
Awesome. Now you reminded me. Remember when we had Lewis Powell on with the Southern Spirit Guide, and he was telling a story about him walking up the hill, and he heard. Remember what he heard in the woods? He heard giggling in the woods, and that's what I thought about when you were telling me that. Cool.
I hear giggling in the woods. I'm out of there. I don't want to know what it is.
Possibly. I hear you. All right. You got anything else you want to share with us, Beth?
Just check us out on Patreon, become a patron, help support us, and we'll keep doing what we're doing. Hopefully you'll enjoy it.
Excellent. All right. That's what we want. Now, another sponsor before we go on into the next session. All righty then. Make sure you check out author Christine Rogers at Facebook and Amazon. And what is it? Barnes and Noble's what's not selling your books anymore, or is it Amazon Books A Million? What I can't hear you. Plug in your microphone. All right. There. Hey, I hear something now. I hear everything. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? The microphone's
Okay.
not working. Yeah, I think it's Books
Okay.
A Million that's no longer selling.
All
on
right. Barnes and Nobles and Amazon. Find author Christine Rogers in her books. And she's still writing, folks. So hang on. All right. Now, what happens if you let them in? Now, I have heard one guy started having nosebleeds or something like that and went to the doctor. Well, this was during the Black Eyed Kids encounter, and went to the doctor the next day and found out he had cancer. They were able to operate and clear out the cancer. And then another guy passed out while the Black Eyed Kids were in their home, rushed to the hospital, and turns out he had a ruptured appendix. So this is what Brian Bethel, we talked about his story earlier. This is what he comes back and says. He went to see his best friend, and who recently moved to Amarillo, but at that time was still living there close by. He said he called him and talked to him briefly. He had two ladies there with him at the time he called them, both professing some type of psychic ability. I started telling him the story, leaving out the part about the black eyes, and I guess he didn't think they would believe him. But one of the women, they were on speakerphone, stopped him and said, "These children had black eyes, right? I mean, all black eyes?" And he was like, yeah. She said, "One night last week, I had a dream about children with black eyes. They were outside my house wanting to be let in, but there was something wrong with them. It took me a while to realize that it was the eyes. I hadn't even gotten as far as wanting them to come in. I said, "What did you do?" I asked. She said, "I kept the doors and windows locked. I knew that if they came in, they would kill me." And then she added, "And they would have killed you too if you had let them into your car." Now, that was Brian Bethel's story. And so what do you think about that? I mean, like I said, would they have killed him? I mean, is that something that's a possibility? Did they cause the appendicitis? Did they give the man the cancer?
Was the woman more intuitive to what was going on?
Oh, I'm not sure. This was just,
I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
Like, just putting that out there. Because a lot of times women are able to pick up on weird things.
Sure.
And just sense things.
Right. I mean, she may have been. I mean, he said in his story that they had some type of psychic ability. He's not real sure exactly what it is. They could have been empaths. They could have been psychic mediums. I don't know. They obviously picked up on something, because without him saying that these kids had black eyes, she knew they had black eyes when he relayed the story. So this is the thing that had gotten me questioning. I understand that when people see these, they do get that sense of fear and dread and terror. But like the guys with the appendicitis and the cancer, did they cause it? Did the black-eyed kids cause that? Did they just call attention to it, or was it just a coincidence?
Yeah, were they messengers?
Exactly. Did they come in as harbingers and to let them know something was wrong? I
like that introspective.
Well, I was thinking about that when I was listening to one of these the other day when they were telling the story. The kids are standing in the kitchen, and the husband's having a nosebleed, and when they rush him to the hospital, they find out he's got cancer, but they're able to operate and save his life. So, did the black-eyed kids save the guy's life? Or did they cause the cancer and almost kill him? So, that's just a different perspective. Now, something else that's not as common is black-eyed adults. Christine, you ready to read that story? This is from a Reddit poster, and Christine's going to read about a possible encounter with a black-eyed adult.
Okay. It's posted on Reddit by Faye, 1991, 2 years ago. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Possible encounter with a black-eyed adult. And she says, "I'm new here. I actually created a Reddit account so that I could share my story and get some opinions on it. Some background. I'm a 26-year-old mom, wife, and I work at a theater in Tennessee. I actually drive an hour to work because I love living in Knoxville. But the theater I work at is a big tourist destination in Pigeon Forge. Anyway, this happened to me about 3 years ago at work. Because we have so many tourists, we have a timeshare booth that guests can visit. Annoying, I know. They have other employees, and a lot of them rotate in and out or quit soon after because the job sucks. I was working night shift, and we were about an hour away from seating the show. I was a clerk at this time. I'm a manager now. And I was on my way back from break. I am approaching the ticket counter to go into the staff entrance, and I noticed this super tall, super skinny woman was talking to my coworker. I'm 4'11", so a lot of people seem tall to me, but this lady had to be pushing 6 foot. I noticed that my coworker looked uncomfortable, so I stopped to see if everything was okay. I walked up to the window, and this lady immediately turned around to face me. I stopped dead in my tracks, and my heart skipped a beat. She had what looked like solid black, watery eyes. They were the normal shape and everything, a little smaller than mine, but I couldn't see any white at all. I immediately understood why my friend seemed so uneasy. I also noticed that this woman had the timeshare uniform on, and she looked very professional. She had reddish, blondish hair that was very dried out, like she had damaged it in some way. She smiled at me and started talking. The look she gave me was very predatory, kind of like a shark. That's how it made me feel anyway. She said, "Wow, you must have to be super attractive to work here because you are beautiful." Then she smiled at me some more, never looking away. I didn't know what to say to her, so I excused myself and went into the office. I felt very shaken, especially because she continued watching me until I was out of sight. I had just learned about black-eyed kids, but I had never heard of black-eyed adults. I approached my friend and asked her if she had ever heard of the black-eyed kids. She said she had, but didn't say much after that. I didn't see the woman for the rest of my shift. I got off work around 11 p.m., so the parking lot was clear other than a few random cars when I left. It was dark, but there are several lights on in the parking lot, so I don't usually get nervous going to my car alone. I couldn't believe what I saw when I got outside, however. She was again, but this time she was with a group of her fellow employees just gathered around a single car at the beginning of the lot. I passed them, and they all immediately looked at me. She was the only one with black eyes, but they were dead silent, and they all turned their heads together to watch me walk to my car, get in, and drive away. She never stopped smiling at me, and they never stopped looking at me until I turned onto the main road. I never saw them actually talk to each other. This experience has been on my mind ever since, and I don't know what to make of it. I haven't seen the woman since. Any insights?
Wow. That was weird. Especially the last part where it's like the black-eyed woman has these other folks, I don't know, cornered.
Or under control.
Yeah.
Yeah, something. That was just kind of
that's
odd.
what we were saying earlier about people's recounting their stories.
hmm
For some reason, there's something about her story, a couple different reasons, that make me feel like she's saying what she truly saw.
Right. Yeah, it was just why would you make up something like that anyway? Especially when you talked about her hair.
That's what I mean.
It was just
Certain
kind of
details that you would notice that
yeah.
are strange.
What was reddish blonde hair that was very dried out, like it was damaged in some way.
Or looking at her like predatory, like a shark.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's what's about all of these. It's almost like Dagny said earlier about the skinwalkers, like they can almost possess somebody. It's like these guys are. Remember the first Men in Black movie where the roach alien took over the guy's body and the body didn't. Yeah, and it didn't fit him very well. It's what all these things sounds like. It's none of this fits. That this persona they're trying to portray doesn't fit very well. All right, we're going to hear one other black-eyed adult story. Dagny's got that for us.
Okay. And I wanted to remind everyone to check out YouTube.
Yes.
I mean, watch our stream, obviously, but subscribe and like it and stuff. I mean, we put a lot of effort into this, and it means a lot to us.
Yes,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you.
All right, so I'm going to read about Melissa S.'s story. She wrote this, she's from Pennsylvania. She wrote it 8/20 of 2015, and it's from The Week in Weird by Greg Newkirk. Years ago, when I was a child, I was selling Girl Scout cookies around my neighborhood. Back then, parents were more relaxed and didn't mind a child going door to door on their own as much as they do today. I lived in a safe neighborhood where nothing really happened. I was going house to house, but I wasn't having much luck. I saw this red car pull up into the driveway, so I ran to catch them as they exited the car. I was desperate to make some sales. I saw there were 3 of them as they got out of the car. 2 elderly people, and one was male, one was female, and the third person was a young woman in her 30s. The elderly people saw me and got real excited. From far away, I thought their eyes looked black, but I assumed it was just because of the distance between us. I didn't make anything of it, but I thought something was off about them when they started excitingly running up to me. I put a smile on my face and said hello as they were running up. But my smile turned into an expression of horror when they came right by me and I saw that their eyes truly were pitch black. They had no whites in their eyes. They looked down at me with huge smiles on their faces. I just froze in place with fear. They looked at each other for a second, and the woman said something I couldn't understand to the black-eyed man. They looked right back at me. They were slightly bent down and just right in my face. The woman who was with them ran up, took their arms to pull them away, and sincerely apologized. She said, "I'm so sorry," and hurried them inside. As soon as she took them and went towards the house, I became unfrozen and ran almost all the way home. When I slowed down, I started to feel bad. I rationalized to myself that maybe they had some kind of disorder that made them that way. I mean, they did behave like 2-year-olds. I tried looking it up years later, attempting to find a disorder that matched what I had seen, but I couldn't find anything. Still, I thought maybe it was just a rare disorder, and that is why I couldn't find anything. It wasn't until a few years ago when I found out about black-eyed children from a friend did I realize that what I experienced was probably supernatural. This raises so many questions. Who were those people? Why did they have black eyes? Why was that woman caring for them like they couldn't care for themselves? If the theories that these black-eyed people are really alien human children, then what are they doing in a human neighborhood? Maybe the combination messed up their genes and made these 2 mentally ill. I've never really known what they were and why a normal lady cared for them. Maybe you wonder what people know and what they don't.
That's kind of a like they were children.
That was interesting because a lot of times the children act like they're adults.
Right, and now we've got
like
a thing where
misplacement.
like Mork from Mork.
Yes. Wow. I
Where
haven't thought of that in a long time.
where they grow older as they grow younger or something.
God, I love that show.
The children were acting like adults. And now in this case, the adults were acting like children. But someone was caring for them. And from what it sounded like, the lady may have been normal and didn't have black eyes.
I like that the lady threw in all the questions she had to herself.
True. You know,
And like the aliens, we haven't touched on that. And maybe they're half alien.
It could be when we get into the suppositions later. Maybe, that's one of the things we haven't talked about. But all right, before we get on to one last weird thing about these kids or another offshoot of the black-eyed kids, we got something else here and one of our other sponsors. Hang on, we'll be right back. All right, make sure you go by our Facebook page and check out all our sponsors and also our website, which is strangejourneys.live. All right, and visit all our sponsors, please. We'd certainly appreciate that. All right, a little offshoot from the Black-Eyed Kids. It's rare, but it's been happening. Is white-eyed children instead of black-eyed children. Now, the Villains Wiki website says that the white-eyed children are a race of humanoid beings who bear a few similarities to the infamous black-eyed children, but they also share several contrasts with them. So much so that some paranormal investigators believe that they are, and get this, the true masters of the black-eyed children. Now, much like BEK encounters, the white-eyed children travel primarily by themselves. Now, they say the BEKs who travel in groups, primarily duos, but the white-eyed children are reportedly seclusive and rarely appear in groups when interacting with their victims. They are also typically sighted in isolated areas such as the woods or campgrounds. And also, unlike their relatives, they don't need permission to get inside a victim's house. Instead, they suddenly appear inside where they then motionlessly stare at the witness without an iota of emotion. Also, unlike the BEKs, the white-eyed children are powerful telepaths, using mind control to communicate. Their witnesses often report not feeling anything odd with their conversation with the white-eyed child until they vanish into thin air or see their eyes. Many also have claimed to have seen the children stare at them weeks or even days after the initial encounter. They also often find handprints on their car windows, implicating that they're being followed. Some attribute the white-eyed children to messengers of death, as they were often shown appearing prior to the deaths of someone the witness knew to mean that they were most likely there to warn of the impending death. Now, the story I heard was from a couple of years ago. The two black-eyed children had come to the door. The man had answered the door, went through the whole scenario of them asking to get in, and he wouldn't let them in, shut the door, and walked away thinking it was over. Then he heard a knocking again, and he opened the door to see a different child standing in front of the door with pure white eyes telling him they're not going to bother you anymore, and then turned around and walked away. So who knows? Are they the masters? Are they the police of the type controlling the black-eyed kids and keeping them from doing certain things? Beth, didn't you have a white-eyed kid story?
Are they the shamans?
It could be. That's a possibility.
The Wranglers.
Yeah. Yeah, the comptrollers.
Yeah. This guy was going for, it doesn't say where he was or anything. It just says this guy who went for a ride came to a stop, and a white-eyed kid came to his truck. The kid asked for a ride home. The guy said no. The child said he was lost and sort of politely calling the guy sir, but as he kept saying no, the kid got more aggressive and then disappeared. He thought it was some kind of setup for a robbery. The next day he got off work and noticed greasy handprints all over his truck. And whenever he got in his truck, he grabbed his gun from the glove box and sped home. So that's, let's see. I know they like secluded places. Apparently they can levitate.
Well, I mean,
and they don't really
Right.
talk
That's-
like we're talking.
that's another
It's
thing, that they're more
telepathic.
telepathic. Now, I've heard
Yeah.
stories where the black-eyed kids, relay their information psychically, and they would hear them in their head. Now, what could they be? I'm sorry.
Oh, here's another story.
So are they
No, go ahead.
ghosts? Are they vampires? Remember the old legend that says a vampire can't enter your home unless you give them permission. So are they vampires? I mean, not necessarily drinking blood, but drinking our life force. Are they demons? Are they minions of demons? Are they entities from another dimension? Are they skinwalkers? You know?
From all this that I've researched, I feel like if I had to label them, it's almost like something demonic that
Mm-hmm.
needs acceptance to take over. But that's my own personal opinion.
Well, I mean, that's a very real possibility. Christine or Lynn?
Yeah, but the white-eyed kids don't need them.
No, yeah, the
Don't need
white-eyed
acceptance.
kids, they don't give a flip one way or the other. I'm coming in. I'm in your house. At least the
Hello.
black-eyed kids are asking permission, you know. Can I come in? You know, so why this has always intrigued me. Why black eyes? Now I know on the show Supernatural that shows it's a sign of demon possession. And then you have to stab them with that special blade and or do the
Oh, I
ritual.
forgot to mention there is a way to kill them according to folklore in the Native American culture.
Really?
If you dip a bullet into white ash and it hits them in the head or neck, that will kill them. Or if you call them by their true name that they were before they were a skinwalker.
Huh.
So in case you ever need the artillery, there you go.
How would you find out their name? how do you? Okay, were you Bill? Were you Jethro?
Try all the names you can.
You just-
Somebody tells you, "Hey, Fred used to be
Yeah.
Fred. He's a skinwalker now."
It was Joey from Friends. You know, go through all the names you know. All right, Christine, final thoughts. You're muted.
She's mute.
I'm having some problems with my computer today.
You can blame it on the computer. That's fine.
It's the full moon.
Well, maybe it's somebody from their past that, like in their family tree, that had some unfinished business that they are trying to get resolved, and either they didn't meet them or like the mother had lost them in some way when they were infants, and they're trying to fix something, or to, like, when these people have
Right.
the medical issues, they're there so they can
Sure.
get checked out and stuff like that. I don't know. Just
Possibility.
I like
my
Dagny?
thoughts.
your creative mind.
Dagny, your final thoughts.
I feel pretty strong about the fact that I'd rather not know. I'm gonna stick to that.
You just don't want to meet a black-eyed kid.
Dude, I'll talk to an alien or a ghost, but these black-eyed kids don't sound like fun.
Yeah, true. All right, Lynn, final thoughts?
I think they're demons.
Okay. Any more?
Nope.
All right. All right,
We
Beth,
never
final
let-
thoughts? No, never let them in. All right, Beth from the
Yeah,
Godzilla
let
movies.
'em in. Definitely don't let him in. The kid from The Grudge creeped me out, and I do believe he was a black-eyed kid. So I would probably run the other way, just because that kid
Oh.
really creeped me out. So
Why?
I don't think I want to know what they are, but I guess.
That kid creeped me out too, but why?
Why did that kid creep me
Why
out?
was he so creepy?
I don't know what it was about him, but
He got me too.
He was really creepy to me. That movie freaked me out. Just that kid, the woman I didn't care about. She was creepy, but that kid, especially in the second one where he comes through from the floorboard of the car, I was like, oh no, he ran. He did.
All right. Well, guys, we've actually gone over an hour, but we're actually a shorter show than so far, I think. And we're winding this one down, which I really did want to start cutting them down. 2 hours, over 2 hours last week was really pushing it, but I appreciate everybody's patience. And thank you for being with us. My final thoughts is I had warned y'all that, yes, Christine, you're right. Most people are afraid of things they don't understand, and we don't understand the black-eyed kids. But I had warned y'all several weeks ago that Donnie and I were going to be working on a song. Well, Donnie has really had some health issues. I was glad to see that he was able to get on for a few minutes today. We took him out to eat last night, and just that few minutes out wore him down, and we had to get him back to his house. So he and I have not had a chance to work on my Black Eyed Kids song. So I basically just kind of finished it up, put it together, and this morning I went in and made a little video of it, and that's going to be my final thoughts for you today.
When the black-eyed kids come knocking, you better not open your door. If you've had your share of heartache, you might be asking for more. An evil, dark oppression may be what's in the store. So if the black-eyed kids come knocking, you better not open your door. If the black-eyed kids come calling, you better not let them in. Don't stare into those evil eyes, you don't know where they've been. If you let them use the phone, that's how it all begins. So if the black-eyed kids come calling, you better not let them in. Should the black-eyed kids approach your car, you best just leave them outside. Don't open the door, just leave them be. You better not give them a ride. No matter how they threaten or whatever is implied. When the black-eyed kids approach your car, you best just leave them outside. Kids come knocking, you better not open your door. If you've had your share of heartache, you might be asking for more. An evil, dark oppression may be what's in store. So if the black-eyed kids come knocking, you better not open that door. If the black-eyed kids come calling, you better not let them in. Should the black-eyed kids approach your car, you best just leave them outside. And when the black-eyed kids come knocking, you better not open your door.
All right, guys, that's my final thoughts. Appreciate y'all being here. We have on the schedule next in 2 weeks. Dagny had to leave us early. Hate that. But on the schedule for next week is the mysterious booms, like sonic booms that they can't explain around the area. They just had another one recently within the last week or two in Ohio or somewhere. Where was that? I can't remember right now. But anyway, we're going to delve into those unless we find something that we want to talk about more. So until then, see y'all in 2 weeks. Y'all be sure and come back on another Strange Journeys with us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Is there anyone here with us? Did you hear that? Can you tell us your name?
To it.